No, they speak Ukrainian. They actually speak Ukrainian, you know. And then they got their little rulers is pretty not that nice of guys. And then they got the Nazis right now today is, so okay, and here's the US. They so crazy that they act like they don't have no sense, which I'm beginning to believe they don't. But no, can you imagine? Hey, in our patriotic war, that crew knocked us over and they killed 27, 28 million people. And then y'all was talking about opening a second front in 42 and it was 44. June, D-Day, June. 2.5 years later, y'all got all worked up and now you ready to come over here. And in the meantime, Russians, now Stalin knew that because they knew, let them have the Germans. That's why the Germans, hey man, what is it? 5 out of 6 Germans that was killed in the war was killed by Russians. I mean, and so you could imagine now if they have a Cuban Missile Crisis over here and Kennedy want to blow up the world so that you can't be 90 miles away, supposing you want to move all the way over next door. And Stalin's whole thing about all that area, Poland way back over there and all that, Hungary, hey, so just up until a few years ago, they had took all of that area and they kept it. So anybody coming from Europe, they got to come through them first. That was their whole. Cause see, they can't look if they hadn't had been invaded twice. I mean, big invasions, and the last one was pretty serious. Was even more superior than Napoleon. So if they want to keep or want to blow up the world because Russia going to put missiles in Cuba, well, why would they be so upset if, now, not that the Americans lied, but, they told Yeltsin that we're not even going to come up nowhere close to y'all. We're going, this is what they said. The only thing is they didn't write it on paper, but everybody know that's what they said. So then they coming all the way up. Oh, you guys can join NATO. Oh, you can join too. And the Russians this time said, no, man, that's it. I'm sorry, we're not into that. We're just not into that. And they know that they're right. They know that the Russians is right. They say you can keep people way back there in your area, and then you want to move right next door to me, like it's okay. And Putin told him, no, you ain't doing nothing like that, man. We're not into that. And so that's what the little stuff is now. Now over here, they're hearing a whole different story. That's okay. Hey, the world is not playing by their rules. And they're not playing according to all of this stuff is America's fault because the drunk Yeltsin, they just told him anything they want. But Putin, man, is ex-KGB, all that stuff. And he said, no, y'all not doing that, man. And then what make it so bad, they sanction them. Now, the sanction, Germany, still gets cold in Germany. And all the gas is coming from Germany. And the U.S. want to sell them some from way over here, send some over there. And so all the slow Europeans, and everybody in the world is not studying what's going on, so they have a background. They're listening to that dumb man, old Mr. What's his name, the president. That boy is old and slow. His memory is worse than mine. So you know he got a bad, and I've been busted upside the head. So I got an excuse. You know what I mean? I could say I just don't remember. I don't remember. Some people I be talking about something, and I be trying to remember the name of it. I said, well, shoot, you know that thing. It's got 4 wheels on it. It's got a stern wheel on it. And, you know, you put it in gear and it drives. Oh, a car. You talking about? I said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody, you know what I mean? You can describe everything, the whole thing. It has pistons, but you just can't remember a car, right? And that's what happened when you get on. But you remember the whole story, right? You just can't remember. And that happens after a while. But see, look, these people, they don't know nothing. And they don't know that the Nazis killed millions of them. And then they over here let the Russians happily kill all the Nazis. You know, just let it run. Let them slaughter each other. And we'll stay over here. We'll come in at D-Day and just stroll around in France, not wasting time. But the Russians are coming, so we'll let them. The Russians took Berlin because the Germans, they wasn't giving it up without a fight. And this is the last day of the war, and they're still fighting. So the Americans they told Patton to just run around in circles, have a good time. But let the Russians get killed. And the Russians knew that. For that, they had to protect themselves from anything in the future. That's why their policy is what it is. They lost 27 or 28 million people. And so old dumb Yeltsin, or the drunk, that man, can you imagine a president of a country he can't even hold his head up, he's so drunk? Not some of the time, but all the time. He looks drunk, he sounds drunk, and he's a drunkard. Off vodka of everything. You know, vodka you be drunk drinking vodka. You don't be, just a little stoned. You be drunk, drinking that stuff. You know, you could it blows up. Man, I had some of that and some rum one time, and it was on the thing. I was down in South America, and I lit something around it, and that boy lifted up and floated across the table. I said, that's bad there, whatever that is. That is bad. I said, boy, it was some rum and vodka, and that boy just lifted up and floated across the table. I mean, you could tell the aerodynamics, something, the heat is getting under there, but it lifted up. And I was so high, I said, boy, that's serious. I mean, I didn't jump and so batting it to put it out. I just say, you be so high. I said, boy, that there is bad. I just watched it. And they be drinking that all the time, They be drinking it. But anyway, the point is about the stuff we're hearing on the news. They're not hearing that the people in these areas want the majority of them in parts of that area speak Russian. So they're all for it. The other guys, they just told them, hey, man, why don't y'all go home? That's why you don't hear about a lot of fighting and stuff like that. They say, hey, man, why don't y'all just go on home? And they say, hey, sure. What the heck? Because the president or whatever, he's a drunk and a liar and a thief. You know what I mean? I tell you what, that's why all that stuff about Ukraine was hooked up with what's the old president last go round? Trump and all that. Remember all those hearings, and they always bringing up Ukraine and who got money. Well, they just lie so much, you know. And I was looking at the dumb Europeans last night, and they all trying to say, yeah, da, 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 da. Well, just wait another 2 weeks, because oil prices, they back down now to 90 something, but they was up over $100, a barrel today in the morning. It was 105. And it's back down to, one of them is back down to 96, and the good oil, and the other one is down to 92. Okay, now, what does that do for Iran, our home folks and all that? They home free. It don't make no difference what happened. If you think they was buying oil from Iran under the table at $50 a barrel, imagine what they're gonna do at $100 a barrel. And it acts like, see, when they take Russian oil off the line, the biggest supplier of oil in the world is Saudi Arabia and Russia. And Iran is number 3 or 4. Iran and Iraq are 3 and 4. Hey, man, see, and our home folks, they're forcing. We're going to sanction Russia, and we're going to sanction. And you see how they're starting fitna. They're trying to get Taiwan to turn flips so China can get mad. But you can see that China is playing it right. And they're trying to get everybody to waste their energy. Ain't nobody wasting their energy. Ain't nobody, the Chinese are not going to get diverted by Taiwan, and the Russians ain't going to let you come up next to them and live right next door to them with missiles that they can throw across the fence and burn you alive. They're not going to do it. And they got he's not a dictator. Seems like he's a nice guy now. He's been on our side. Dear Putin. I said, dear Putin, because, it don't look like the old days of Russia and the United States seem to be working hand in hand. What I mean is, if you have a country in Africa that's fighting colonialism, if you're moving toward a leftist type thing, then the Soviet Union would help you. And if the U.S. want to mess with you, they just say they'd help you. And you would either have to go to one side or the other. If you don't get help from one side or the other, you're going to get wiped out, because they're going to help whoever your enemy is. The U.S. is going to help them. So if you don't get help from the Soviet Union, like Nicaragua, if you don't get help, they're going to be the Contras there, and then you're through. All right. Sometimes some of this stuff smell a little bit like that, but this time, I don't think so. It looks like this is semi-real, because the stakes, the global stakes are in place. They plan for, this table is full this go round, and it's not any room for manipulation. In other words, China is not playing that game because they're really trying to get rid of China. They're mad at China because they helped China, and the Chinamen first it was Guo Feng, people don't remember him, but he was back after Chairman Mao. Then after that, Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping told him, hey man, just play the Chinese laundry man, oh bossy. And that's what he did. But see, Deng Xiaoping, he told him, getting rich is glorious. It's good to get rich. Chairman Mao he's more egalitarian. So then, what China wind up doing is kind of mixing them both together. And they came up with a wonderful formula. they've been at it a long time. Even the earliest discussion of it was socialism with Chinese characteristics. The first article amongst them was, I think, even back in '58, one of their specialists. But getting up to modern times, socialism with Chinese characteristics. Wasn't it funny when, after China got big and rich, they didn't want to become democratic? Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but we said that was what exactly China ain't going with them. And after they refused that, they just been mad ever since. But it's too late. China is not Japan. You know, America helped Japan, and Japan got big, then they started getting too big, and America, some kind of way,